Alright guys, just 2 more games left in this league part of the season. Melville United and Wellington Olympic won them from those 2 games, and we've got the grand final and Champions League football for next season. So I trust you to finish the job off there. Well done. But we're undefeated so far this season. We deserve to be the champions of New Zealand. Make sure that you make that happen. Let's go, boys. Come on. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 47 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both the All Whites and with Cashmere Technical. And coming up today, we're going to try and finish our first season here in charge of the Christchurch-based outfit, and hopefully we can remain undefeated and pick up the National League Championship title. First up, we'll take on Melville United, where a win will see us make the final and also qualify for the OFC Champions League at the start of next season. And if we can do that, we'll then go forward and take on one of Wellington Olympic or Auckland City in the grand final. So if you're looking forward to that, coming up in today's episode, as well as the end of season review and transfer budgets for next season. And do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But yesterday we took on Manukau United and Auckland City in a couple of games in the league phase of this National League Championship. If you missed the episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. We've played 2 more games off the back of those 2 wins, and thankfully they did both go well, as you can see over there in the top right corner, against some teams who have been struggling so far in this championship phase of the National League. First up, took on a Christchurch United team that we did beat twice back in the Southern League. Did so again, 2 goals to Adam Does FM as per usual. Got the first goal, albeit this time it was in the early stages of the second half. From there, we did kick on, and Emerson Aliosa also grabbed a goal to make sure that we did pick up a 3-0 win. Pretty convincing victory, even though it did take us a while to pick up those goals. And off the back of that, we took on the team rock bottom of the National League in Northern Rovers, the team who were the 3rd best one out of the Central League. And again, we were very dominant here in picking up a 6-0 win. Only 2 goals in the first half. This time Al Ghazali with the first, as well as Ariosa, but second half goals to Ariosa, 2 to Adam Does FM, also a Cullen Elliott penalty did mean we picked up a 6-0 win. To be fair, they were down to 10 men for most of this game, were the Northern Rovers. That scoreline definitely got inflated because of that, but still about what you'd expect against the team who are bottom of the league. Have just noticed they're actually from Auckland, but I'm pretty sure these guys did qualify out of the Central League, and indeed that is the case. So I'm not completely wrong, but they are actually a team from Auckland who for some reason are playing in the Central League. But what that means for the overall National League Championship table, with only 2 games left, we have 5 points clear of both Auckland City and Wellington Olympic. They're the only couple of teams now who can make the final. So 1 win from these last couple of games will be enough for us to make that grand final, especially considering our last game in this league phase is against Wellington Olympic, and the first one that we're going to play today is against Melville United, and that one is at the GMP. Those guys have fallen down the table a little bit off the back of where we left things at the end of yesterday's episode. A couple of rough results for them in the last couple of outings, including losses to the Wellington-based teams in Olympic and the Phoenix Reserve. So it does mean they are no longer in with a chance of qualifying for next season's OFC Champions League. Hopefully we can continue to pile on the misery and lock up our spot in that competition for next season, and also in the grand final. And we do still have a chance here to go unbeaten throughout the entire season. Of course, a quick look at the last couple of games for both Wellington Olympic and Auckland City, considering only one of those teams are probably going to make their way into that final unless we bottle things. Auckland City, they've got Western Suburbs and then Christchurch United away, so not easy games, but probably ones you would expect them to win. And Wellington Olympic, of course, they've got us on that final match day, but just going back to find them here on a table that I can look at, they take on the Phoenix Reserves before they take us on. I dare say they'd need to win that game. Otherwise, probably going to be another Auckland City versus Cashmere Tech game in the National League Grand Final. In terms of injuries, have had one big one pop up off the back of yesterday's episode. Josh Taluvi, our backup right winger, has picked up a broken foot, so he's out for the rest of the season, gone for 2 to 3 months. But to be fair, off the back of the signing of Gil Paquette, that's not too bad. Still got Nathan Walker as the backup so that won't hurt us too much, just that one injury, but thankfully that shouldn't prove too costly in terms of our bench balance, and also hopefully can do the job here in this Melville United game. That should mean I can rotate some players like Inchingase, Louis Munoz, and Masson in that Wellington Olympic game to make sure they don't pick up any yellow cards and get suspended for that final. If they get suspended for this game, that's okay. Just want our full squad available for the National League final if we can get through this game against Melville United, which you expect at home at the GMP. And we'll come back shortly and hopefully book our place in the Champions League for next season with a win over Melville United. And here are the team sheets for what could be the game where we do qualify for next season's OFC Champions League, and we are at full strength for the first time in quite a while. Paquette able to start on that right wing, which I think this might be his first game starting on camera for you guys. Melville United, they are going with a 4-3-3 as you saw before, just starting to slip down the table. Hopefully we can pick up a win or even a point, might be enough for us to secure our spot in the grand final. And just past the 10-minute mark, we get the first highlight of this game already. Adam Does FM has picked up a yellow card, so that means he can't play in our next game against Wellington Olympic, which to be fair, not too bad. Should mean he's available for the grand final if we make it that far. But good early chance here for Gil Paquette, but good save there from the Melville goalkeeper to tip that on the crossbar. We do stay on the attack, but I think this highlight now might be about to come to an end. We just knock it about there on the right-hand side. Goes back to Inchingase. Good early chance there for Paquette, but good save keeps it at 0. And not off the back of wrapping up that previous highlight, now Melville try a ball over the top there, but thankfully Bagigio is there to tidy things up. Gets that ball back there from the young promising New Zealand goalkeeper in Josh Hawkins, but early stages are on the front foot in this game. Lepane does quite well there under pressure to find Inchingase and make sure that we do keep hold of possession. Now Callan Elliott makes his way in field, plays that one back to the former Auckland City man who so far has had success against his former club. Hopefully that will continue if we take them on in the grand final. But Adam, nice ball forward there for Ariosa. It comes off the post and then off the back of the goalkeeper for Melville. Couple of good early chances for us here, but unfortunately can't quite put them away, so it's still 0-0. And just making our way into the last 10 minutes of this first half, still well and truly the team on the front foot. We have a corner there looking for Stevenson at the far post. Can't quite pick him out, but Adam Does FM is there to tidy things up. Nice ball over there to the other side to pick out Ariosa. He will take on a shot. Maybe should look to square that one, but yet again, that comes off the woodwork. Not too sure if it got a touch from the Melville goalkeeper. It might have, because I think the throw in there was in our favour. But shortly off the back of that, there is another highlight. Melville, they pump that deep, but it's a poor ball straight into the path of Bagigio. Now Adam Does FM will square that one for Al Ghazali, but won't get too excited because the flag has gone up. Of course, no VAR in the New Zealand National League, so that one does get ruled out. And to be fair, did look pretty clear cut, even without the aid of a replay. But another highlight shortly off the back of that one. Ariosa receives that ball, and now Paquette will square it back for him. And this time, we beat the goalkeeper there in Pereira. And after a lot of pressure so far in this first half on that Melville defence, we do pick up a 1-0 lead just before halftime. Pereira actually at fault with that clearance. Good work from Inchingase, and does well to pick out Ariosa. He finds Paquette, who returns the favour, and Ariosa with a good first time finish into that top right corner to give us a 1-0 lead. And shortly off the back of that opening goal, now we're back down the other end here for a free kick, which Al Ghazali takes short, and Adam Does FM, my son, will pick up his 20th goal of the season. Those short free kicks on this year's game do seem very overpowered, but we're making the most of them. We'll make sure that we continue to do that. That is a very good finish from just outside the box. A couple of goals just before half-time, and that should hopefully be enough to make sure we're going to make the grand final of the National League. Now a corner looking for Munoz there at the far post. Adam will pick that ball up, having a good first half so far, even though he wasn't the first goal scorer this time. Does pick up the second, as he often does. Now Bagigio just inside the box. We'll play that one across to Adam Does FM. He'll pick up a double before halftime, that one into the bottom right corner, and my son's on fire. And on a hat-trick, it does mean we can probably leave him out there now, considering he'll be suspended for our next match anyway. But that surely wraps up our place in the National League Grand Final. Adam Does FM with a first half double, that one a first time finish with his left foot. Not the best save attempt there from Pereira in goal for Melville, but good late flurry there inside of those last 10 minutes does mean we go into the sheds with a 3-0 lead. And considering the way that we did finish off that first half, don't think any changes are needed. Everyone out there is on a decent rating, so we'll go forward and get the second half underway. Should be on our way to the National League Grand Final with a 3-0 lead. And coming up to the hour mark, first highlight here of the second half is a free kick in our favour. Inchingase there with a great chance far post, but unfortunately comes off the woodworkers brief there. We see Auckland City, they are beating Western Suburbs. That's probably not good news for Wellington Olympic, but we should be now on our way to that grand final, still holding onto a 3-0 lead. And it might be time for us actually to make some subs. We're about to make our way into the last 15 minutes of this game. Lepane's dropped down to a red heart, so Johnson can come on for him. Also going to bring on here, I think it will be Walker in place of Gil Paquette, still coming back from an injury. And with our final substitution, might give some game time to Inzaghi. He looks like he needs it based on that match sharpness. There'll be all our subs used as we still hold a 3-0 lead. And we're just about to make our way into the last 5 minutes of this game. The second half hasn't been up to a heck of a lot. Melville have been on the attack a little bit more than they were in the first half. As you can see through this highlight, albeit good work there from Munoz, who is now on a yellow card, plays it forward eventually to Ariosa. Adam FM does get him behind and will complete his hat-trick, his 22nd goal of the season, but not so fast because he was offside. Hopefully Adam might score one more goal in these last couple of minutes. It's not offside by much, but it is indeed offside, so correct decision there to rob Masson of his hat-trick. As you can see, Melville actually done a little bit in the second half, but to be fair, not too much there. Slide does continue. We'll go attacking late just in case Adam can pick up that hat-trick. He cannot, but that is a convincing 3-0 win, and that will make sure our next game in today's episode will be the grand final of the National League Championship. That also means, of course, we are now qualified for the OFC Champions League for the start of next season. Now we just need to go forward and play Wellington Olympic in our last game. That one could have quite a bit riding on it, because if they beat us, they could sneak their way into the final over someone like Auckland City, especially because we're probably going to need to rotate some players with that yellow card situation, but we're through the final off the back of that 3-0 win over Melville. And here are the highlights from our last game of that league phase of the National League Championship. It took us until up around the hour mark to score the first goal of this game. Good work from El Ghazali to take that one around Mumford in goal and put it away in front of the Wellington Olympic fans. And from there, we did start to get on the front foot a little bit more. Nice ball over the top there from Walker. Rather fortunate that ball actually fell back to El Ghazali. Van Rissel and Uhatahi do get mixed up at the back, but he picks up a double. And very similar ball here for El Ghazali to complete his hat-trick. He was definitely the difference maker in the second half of this game as we pick up a 3-0 win. That a very good result considering some of the players that we did rest. As you can see, few changes there in both defence and the midfield, as well as left wing, considering the players who were already suspended and also who were on a yellow card. Just want to make sure our full squad was available for this upcoming final, and that result does mean that final is going to be against Auckland City. As you can see there, annoyingly, no home advantage for finishing on top of the National League because it's being played at a neutral venue in its Sky Stadium. Also, Wellington Olympic actually drew the previous game against the Phoenix Reserves anyway, so it would have been a tall order for them to overtake Auckland City, but that win by us makes sure it's going to be yet another clash between us and Auckland City in the National League Grand Final. Hopefully we can beat them, complete an undefeated season, and pick up the treble. We'll go forward 2 weeks to play that final. In between now and then, actually got our first couple of World Cup qualifiers with the All Whites against Vanuatu and Papua New Guinea, so we'll quickly round those off. We are playing a very rotated team in this window because we do have a lot of injuries currently in our All Whites team. As you can see, lots of players who usually be there who are not, but thankfully it's probably a good situation for this to be the case as we take on some teams out of Oceania, but we'll come back shortly, recap those results before we take on Auckland City in the National League Grand Final. And we are back about to take on Auckland City in the National League Grand Final. Before that, as I said, recap of the World Cup qualifiers, our first couple for this upcoming 2030 World Cup, which we should be making with the All Whites off the back of making our way through to the second round of the last one. 2 comfortable wins, as you would expect, especially as these games were played at the neutral venue of Sky Stadium. 4-0 win over Vanuatu with goals there from Tyler Bindon, Ben Wayne, Jacob Hall-Jones on debut, the young Phoenix winger. He picked up a goal, as did Justin Keat late, and off the back of that, a 5-1 win over Papua New Guinea. Goals this time to Stumnick Pickering, picked up a double, the Wayne Train, and also Louis Evans, who was making his debut in this international window, who, to be fair, does look like a defensive midfielder who could actually keep his place in that team over players like Anto Bratic and Nathan Palmer. But 2 good wins for us there in our first couple of games of the World Cup qualifiers does mean we're currently on top of the table, and I'm pretty sure just one more win should be enough for us to make our way through to the final of that OFC World Cup qualifying, which might come back for at some stage next week. But you'd like to think that's something that we can win and make our way through, as I said, to our second World Cup of the save. Also had our first youth intake here at Cashmere Technical while waiting for the grand final against Auckland City. We'll just go over and go to the development centre and show you guys what it looked like. It was blimmin' awful. I'll just try and go back here and get this actual rating to pop up. Now it does. It was poor. As you can tell, no players over 3-star potential. Ryan Piper, the best of them being an attacking midfielder with 1.5-star current ability. But honestly, considering the level we're playing at, that's a pretty rubbish youth intake. So hopefully we can win this National League title, and the board might finally allow me to actually improve the youth recruitment as well as the junior coaching, because I don't think we're going to sign any of these players, because that is the worst youth intake I have had in a long time. But unfortunately, despite the fact I rested those players on a yellow card going in to that Wellington Olympic game, are still missing some key players going in to this grand final. First up, Cullen Elliott actually played for the All Whites in that most recent international window. Then off the back of that, coming back to training, he's picked up a hip injury and is out for 3 to 4 months. So it's a big injury, just keeps me out of the one game, but it is a big one. So no Cullen Elliott. It does mean Albertine comes back in, our club captain, and he's actually already agreed to depart at the end of the season for a fee. We'll just find that there for Thibaut Albertine. We'll go over to the tactics screen. That'll be easier, but he is on his way if we have a look to Tenguth FC, and that is for a fee of just under £9,000 going back to his homeland of Senegal, seeing as Cullen Elliott is a better right back. We'll get rid of the foreign player in that spot to make sure we can grab a few more for next season, but this will be a chance for him to depart the club on a high. And the other player that's missing, I'm pretty annoyed about, because Bagigio apparently was sitting on a yellow card going to that game against Wellington Olympic, and he picked up a yellow card in the 88th minute. Didn't pop up on the screen here before the game, so I'm not really too sure what's gone on there. Apparently it's his 6th yellow card of the season, so he's been suspended for the final. To be fair, was on a heavy workload anyway, but it does mean that young Michael Fleming will play his first game starting for us here at Cashmere Technical. Was able to sign him after AFC Auckland released him at the end of the last A-League season for a wage of £100 a week, and being better than Isaac Hobbit, the man that we signed from MacArthur FC. Thought it was a good idea to get him in the mix with decent potential. So Michael Fleming, one of our former boys from AFC Auckland, hopefully will have a good link up with Adam Does FM down our left-hand side and can help us beat Auckland City in this National League final. But definitely a bit annoyed about that Bagigio suspension. Wouldn't have played him against Wellington Olympic if I knew he was sitting on that 6th yellow card. For some reason, that didn't pop up on the yellow box compared to the other players who were just sitting on their first yellow card suspension, like Inchin Gase is still going into this final. So it's a bit annoying. Hopefully not a sign that New Zealand football want Auckland City to beat us in this National League final, but hopefully we can complete an unbeaten season here and lift the National League Championship title to go alongside our Southern League and the Chatham Cup, and we'll come back shortly and hopefully get the job done and beat Auckland City for a 3rd time this season in the grand final from Sky Stadium. And here are the team sheets for this grand final of the New Zealand National League. In terms of us, our best 11, apart from those changes both sides, at wing-back, Albertine at right-back, and of course Fleming coming in for the suspended Bagigio. There are Auckland City also going with a 4-2-3-1, look pretty similar to the team we took on last time in the National League and also in the Chatham Cup final. Hopefully we can fresh them again and make it a treble winning season. And just making our way past the 15-minute mark in this game, so far not much happening. Auckland City with more shots, despite the fact they've had less possession. Chance there from a free kick. Thankfully that one comes off the crossbars. Early stages, not looking too convincing in the final. Hopefully that does not like big matches doesn't actually apply here to this one, considering that it is only the New Zealand National League final. You'd imagine there's a lot bigger matches than this one, but early stages not looking too good here in this game, but not many highlights in the first half. Eventually, we get a second one here, but yet again, looks like it might be in favour of the blue team in Auckland City. They keep this one down the left-hand side. DeAnder, who I think set up a goal in the Chatham Cup final before he ran over the top of them by 5-1, but now they put one into the mix, therefore got in. Good chance there for Bowman, goes over the bar, and he was onside. Did think there someone might have been off, so keep encouraging, but to be fair, this has not been the best first half. Just checking on player ratings, none of them are too bad, but that is pretty average. I think we need to give the guys here a bit of a rev up, but thankfully, it's still nil all that. Certainly, based on highlights, could have been a situation where we went to the sheds 1-0 behind, but certainly the team on the back foot in all stats apart from possession, that needs to change. We'll get the second half underway, still locked up at 0-0. And 10 minutes into the second half, the first highlight of it does take place, but yet again it's in favour of Auckland City FC, so this is a bit concerning. Does feel like here we're going to get FM'd a little bit in the grand final. DeAnder there does get in behind, squares that one, looking for Ukic, thankfully just goes past him, so they can't quite get a shot off, albeit they asked them on the front foot. Dawkins will find Alias DeAnder, who has been a real pest against us so far this season. When we've taken on Auckland City, they take a 1-0 lead in the grand final. To be fair, they probably deserve it. Hopefully, we're not going to bottle things in our last game of the season, having not lost a single game before now. But nice ball there from Dawkins, and DeAnder beats Hawkins there at his near post. To be fair, probably should be doing a little bit better, but we're 1-0 behind. And off the back of that, we'll take off Al Ghazi, just struggling a little bit on a 6.44. Gilbert, also Albertine and Fleming not doing too well, but only Mzalgi as a bench option, so I think we might just save up those other subs for later in the game, but we'll change our striker off the back of going 1-0 down. And 10 minutes off the back of that opening goal, we are now down the other end on the attack here for the first time in this game. Arios gets brought down inside the box, so a chance for us here to draw level from the penalty spot, which is thankful, because to be fair, haven't done too much from open play. We'll see who's taking the penalty. It's our captain, Albertine. It gets saved by Connor Tracy. That's your last action as a Cashmere Tech player, because you're getting subbed off for Inzaghi. And to be fair, Michael Fleming actually not doing too well either. So he could actually try here Shaun Stride as a right back and play Inzaghi as a left back. So both our wing backs leading us down here in place of our regular starters. But that is a poor penalty from Albertine. To be fair, we don't have that great a penalty takers here at Cashmere Tech. Hopefully that doesn't prove costly as we now try and get on the front foot a little bit more. Another corner here as we do look to keep the pressure on. If this doesn't work, might be time for us soon to go a bit more attacking in terms of our player roles. We try and put this one far post. That's too easy for Connor Tracy. Time for us to berate our boys, because currently looks like we're going to try and bottle here this National League final. So time for us here to chuck our wing backs onto attack and also the DM onto support. Might go a bit wider in terms of our attacking width and also up the tempo and get our goalkeeper to maybe just distribute a little bit quicker and also get our defensive line to push up a bit as well. Hopefully that might mean we get on the front foot a little bit more in the last 20 minutes of this game. Second half, we're certainly getting on the front foot a little bit more, albeit the XG probably boosted up largely by the penalty. Now making our way into the last 10 minutes, we go attacking. A highlight was just about to start, but a badly timed shout does mean that one gets cut out. Now about to make our way into 3 minutes of added time. Now I think it's definitely time for us now to go full out attack. We'll chuck our centre backs onto liberos just to see if that might help also go full high tempo and also tell our guys to be more expressive. And we'll see if any of those changes can help. Late highlight here and a chance for Paquette. That one just kisses the top of the netting, but unfortunately can't quite dip in time enough. That's full time. We lose our first game of the season. Thankfully, don't have to watch the trophy celebration, which is quite nice. But after winning every single game this year with Cashmere Technical, we've blown it in the final, and we have not picked up the National League trophy because we lose to Auckland City 1-0. Our first defeat of the season, our first defeat in 3 against Auckland City, means that they're the champions of New Zealand. So fair to say we've absolutely bottled the National League title there in our last game of the season, the final. That's the problem with grand finals based on league position. we were definitely the best team in the league. We'll just go switch to the actual championship. We were 7 points better than them, but we lost when it counted. Our only defeat of the season does mean Auckland City are back-to-back champions. That's a bit of a hard one to take, considering just how good we were throughout the whole season here at Cashmere Technical, but thankfully, still going to have a chance at redemption in the OFC Champions League at the start of next season. But yeah, that's a bit of a harsh one to take there. Losing a few players actually did prove quite crucial. At wingback Orbiting, furious apparently I was. No kidding. You're going to be departing for Senegal. Hopefully you might get lost on the way or something, because that was a pathetic penalty saved from Connor Tracy. Get 100k for finishing second. I think we would have got about 300 for coming first, so unfortunately lose out on a bit of coin there. But that's not very nice. And also I think the board actually expected us to win that National League with all the transfers that we did do going in to the start of the season. So that's not ideal, but to be fair, some of these objectives are a little bit all over the place. They wanted us to avoid relegation from the Southern League, but also win the National League and make the National League Championship. So not too sure how accurate some of these are, but unfortunately we fall at the final hurdle, suffering our first defeat of the season in the final to Auckland City. And just taking a sip from my water bowl, seeing as that's what we are here now at Cashmere Technical, and we do have the budgets coming through for our next season here at the club. Our second one, we'll see just how much money we do get. I dare say won't be nearly as much as we got for our first season here, a transfer budget of around 2 million, which was absolutely ridiculous for this level, albeit still not enough for us to actually pick up the overall title. Transfer budget of just under £800,000 to be fair. That should be plenty for this level, and the wage budget around 45k a week to be fair. I think that's about what we're on now, so that could get slid over if we need to make more money available on that side instead of spending money on players. But that's our transfer budget going into our second season here at Cashmere Technical, where now we need to look to avenge that defeat to Auckland City. And we eventually make our way forward to the end of season review here for our first one at Cashmere Technical in 2028. Technically the fifth season of the save, but of course the first four with AFC Auckland, where the seasons did go in a different way across the traditional season timeline instead of the calendar year like it is here in the New Zealand system. A double that really should have been a treble, still a bit dirty on that loss there to Auckland City. But first up signing of the season, as you'd expect, this one does go to my son in Adam Does FM, 21 goals and 8 assists from 27 appearances. He was very good for us, scored first in most games, and we have to go pretty close to picking up the player of the year here at Cashmere Technical. To be fair, Nathan Walker also in with a shout, picked him up on a free transfer, 20 appearances, 17 goals and 16 assists. Maybe should have used him more in that grand final, but to be fair, most of the players that we did sign had a very good impact, but unfortunately not quite good enough for us to win the overall league title. Maybe need to get rid of some of these players who might not enjoy big matches. Did think that wouldn't be too big an issue, but maybe that New Zealand National League final is a bit too big of an occasion for them. If that's the case, need to get them gone before we kick off the OFC Champions League. There's a couple of players that we did sell, but to be fair, they were just the players that we inherited and that we replaced with some better options that we did bring in. Going forward to the season's results, this is going to be a bit harsh to read because lots of green dots, just the one yellow one, that draw with Selwyn United back in the Southern League. All the green dots until the grand final, which we just lost, so that's really annoying. OFC Champions League, we enter that competition on the 10th of February, so that's probably what we're going to come back for tomorrow's episode. Get stuck in the group stage of that and also unveil the transfers that we will do with that budget that was revealed before. And also, of course, we did pick up the Chatham Cup, which was capped off with a 5-1 win over Auckland City, which we couldn't quite back up in the final. To be fair, toughest game in that competition, I felt like was actually the 3-2 win that happened quite late against Wellington Olympic. In the fourth round, actually thought they might be a bit stronger than Auckland City based on that performance, but unfortunately didn't get to play them in the final. Had to lose to Auckland instead. Going forward to the moments to remember, our biggest win was actually the game where we lifted the Southern League title with a 7-0 win over the Coastal Spirit. The match to remember, a 6-1 win quite early in the season over Otago Uni. Not entirely sure why that's been picked. as the match to remember, but the goal of the season also did come in that game, and it was scored by Luis Munoz. And here was the goal, only had a 1-0 lead at this stage, but Lepane on the ball. We were playing in the stripes this day because of a kick flash. Munoz, first time finish there with his left foot, to be fair. It's a pretty good goal. Scored a couple of real beauties here at Cashmere Technical considering the amount of goals that we did score, but don't think we can argue too much with that one, ending up picking up that goal of the season. We'll go forward and check out the finances. Not too sure how applicable this stuff is considering we weren't here last season, but certainly a lot more competition prize money, which hopefully does help top up some of those areas where the revenue did go down, which does seem a little bit weird considering just how bad these guys were last season in the championship phase of the National League. And also, of course, they did lose the Chatham Cup final last season. Top shirt sellers were Paquette, despite the fact he came in quite late, as well as Callan Elliott, Munoz, Lepane, and Janssen. Going forward to our best 11 for this season, Hawkins in goal, as you'd expect. He started pretty much every game for us here this season. Orbiting at right back, I guess that's from before we signed Callan Elliott and not based on that grand final performance. The centre-back, Stevenson, Chingase, and Bagigio. The left-back, Lepane and Munoz in the midfield. The three attacking midfielders, Adam Does, FM Ariosa, and Nathan Walker, and Al Ghazali up front. To be fair, that was the team we were using for most of the season up until some late transfers where Callan Elliott became our first choice right back, and also Paquette, our first choice right winger, which might not have been the best idea in hindsight considering just how good Nathan Walker has been with the highest average rating of those players, and that is the reason that he has picked up both the Fans Player of the Season and the Young Player of the Season. Does feel a bit harsh that my son has not picked up one of those awards, but Nathan Walker did a very good season, so does pretty close to a clean sweep here. For our first season at Cashmere Technical, going down a bit further, top goal scorer was my son. Most assists was Nathan Walker with 16. Adam got the most man of the matches with 6, but the highest average rating, that was Walker. Probably the reason that he did pick up both the player and young player of the season. In terms of competition awards, my son picked up the Chatham Cup Golden Boot as well as the Young Player of the Year in the National League, and Nathan Walker got the Player of the Year for the National League, so I probably stuffed up by not starting him in that final, and some record breakers there on the right hand side. But to be fair, I think most of that is because this is our first season here at Cashmere Technical, and going forward to history in the making. Superb season, just couldn't quite cap it off in that National League Grand Final. And going forward to the manager timeline, I have to go back here to when we did leave AFC Auckland. There it is, happening on the 16th of July 2027. We go forward off the back of that. We got hired at Cashmere on the 19th of January this year, hired some people in terms of staff and signed some players. Also picked up the OFC Nations Cup with the All Whites not too long off the back of that. Picked up the Southern League with just that one draw, as you saw, against Selwyn United. Going forward, a record victory there, 7-0 over the Coastal Spirit, which was that same day that we did lift that Southern League. 2 signings for nothing there in Gil Paquette and Callan Elliott, right before we did pick up the Chatham Cup, largely thanks to my son and his 7 goals. We set a new club record of 22 wins in a row before we lost that grand final, which still hurts just a little bit. But Nathan Walker got Player of the Year in the National League, and Adam Does FM, his 21 goals is a new record. But as I said, that might just be because it's our first season here at Cashmere Technical, and in terms of the overall best 11, we'll just see if any of our boys do make it into this team. Adam Does FM and Josh Hawkins make their way onto the bench. Pretty good work there from Adam in his first season here at the club. Same can be said for Josh Hawkins, and Thibaut Orbertine makes his way into the starting 11, which I'm not too pleased about off the back of that missed penalty in the grand final, but obviously had been a good player in prior years as well. But those are the players that have been added to the prior best 11 here at Cashmere Technical, and just going up a little bit. Supporter profile, apparently we've somehow lost social media followers during the course of that season. Club vision expectations, they want us to play that sort of football. Next season, they want us to win the OFC Champions League. Hopefully we can do that and get some revenge on Auckland City, but still just attempt to avoid relegation from the Southern League, which does seem a little bit unbalanced based on the expectations up above in regards to the Champions League. But I think that will do it for our first season here at Cashmere Technical. Unfortunately, finishing off there on a bit of a bum note as we do lose out to Auckland City in the grand final, having not lost the game before then. But if you enjoyed today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. As I said during that end of season review, we'll come back tomorrow, run through our transfers, and also should get stuck in to our first game of the OFC Champions League. We'll see if that includes a bus trip or not. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.